I get the honor of introducing our guest today from Microsoft. And we work with a lot of different entities, and when you introduce individuals, sometimes you don't necessarily know about them, or you don't know a whole lot. It's kind of a name, but appreciate it the same. But sometimes it's just a name. What I want to say is, with Microsoft, our relationship, the American Council of the Blind and Microsoft, has now gone on for many years, and they are incredible supporters of the work that we do. We meet regularly with our friends from Microsoft, and it is truly a partnership, and it's a pleasure to be able to say that. And we strive to have partnerships, but this is one that has been strong, continues to be strong, and I certainly hope for many, many years into the future it will be. So our two guests with us this morning are Jessica Rafuse, Director of Strategic Partnerships. Now, I did only just a little bit of some of the stuff that happens up here is, I did have to ask Jessica, she sat beside me, I always want to verify how to pronounce last names, first names. And so it is Rafuse for those who have it in the program. So, and Jessica is primarily the individual that we partner with and talk with on a regular monthly basis, really. And I had the pleasure of visiting her at the Microsoft headquarters in Washington State as well. So, and Clint Covington is with us, and so Jessica is Director of Strategic Partnerships, and then Clint Covington is also with us from Microsoft. He is a Group Program Manager. I'm going to let him tell you the rest of his title because it's a good one. But they are going to have a conversation because not just about what Microsoft's doing, but frankly the history with ACB, and I think you'll find it fascinating. How this partnership has developed and what it's meant over time. So Jessica and Clint, welcome. We're so glad you're here. Take it away.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Good morning, everyone. I'm Clint Covington. I lead the accessibility. Okay. Good morning, everyone. Is that better? All right. I like the energy here. And I like the feedback. My name is Clint Covington. I lead the accessibility effort for the Experiences and Devices team here at Microsoft. It's a real privilege to be here with the American Council of the Blind. And thank you for the warm welcome. I think the last time I was here and gave a talk was probably 6-7 years ago. I think it was 2018 was when I was last up here. It's probably been too long, right? This community has been a compass for us. You challenge us, you guide us, you partner with us in building technology that works for everyone. We have a long history of our relationship with ACB, and it's really built on trust and shared purpose. Together, we work to enhance accessibility for Microsoft products, from Windows to Office, and now Copilot. We're not just working to be compliant with accessibility standards. Our goal really is to empower people who are blind and low vision. You've helped us by shaping Narrator, helping us improve the screen reader support across Office, and really rethink the design for accessibility across the Microsoft's ecosystem. This isn't just a partnership on paper, but it's a working relationship that shows up in our products, in our workplace, and in our shared values. We've been partnering together on skilling because to access technology means nothing without the skills to use it. Through ACB and our broader accessibility skilling program, we've reached thousands with training on inclusive design, assistive tech, and now AI literacy. I remember participating in, I think it was over the fall, where there was a training session on Office products, and I just really enjoyed the conversation we had at towards the end of that about feedback from Microsoft, and I appreciate that feedback because that's what helps me become a better leader. I just really believe that deep down in, we have common values, and that we want people with disabilities to be independent, to be productive, and just to live their best life. The world has changed since the last time that I was here. We are, before we talked about releasing products every couple of years. Now, updates are coming monthly, sometimes daily. And, with that faster velocity, we have to build a culture that supports it. That means we have to be faster at responding to feedback. We have to fix bugs with a quicker turnaround. And we have to deliver accessibility improvements in real time. And for more than anything, what I think of is we have to ship features that are not just accessible, but that are usable on day one. We really... So, we need your feedback even more than ever. Because as we move fast, we need to move with intention. As a product designer, I'm living a dream. The things we're now able to do with AI, those were pipe dreams. Those were things like, I thought it was like fantasy to be able to do some of the things that now we can start putting into place and take action on in weeks, the velocity of what we're able to do. So I'm excited. I'm really excited about this new era of AI and how that's empowering the disability community most broadly. Let me give you a little glimpse of what that looks like. Imagine starting off your day using Copilot to summarize what's in your inbox. Are there email messages I need to pay attention to first? Rather than having to go through all of those messages, Copilot can guide you into what you should prioritize. And then it can help you draft responses, make replies, flagging action items, and that's all built in with native screen reader support, keyboard support. That should just be there. Imagine coming across images and being able to ask Copilot to describe that image for you. Instead of, we know, like, in my perfect world and the world Clint would love to live on, everybody would create accessible content, every image would have auto-alt text. But I think we all know that that's not the reality of the world that we live in. And so now we're starting to be able to use generative AI to describe images, charts, to summarize documents. A document, 20-page document, now you can get a really good summary of it without having to spend time wallowing through the document. So I'm excited about something like that. This is not just a demo at this point. This is real, it's shipping, it's available to you. As we move into this generative AI world, I think one of the most important things that we do here at Microsoft is what I call shift left. And that means bringing accessibility into the earliest stages of the design and the development process. Yeah, I mean, it's not about fixing things after the fact. It's about getting it right from the beginning. That's how we avoid barriers. That's how we build trust. That's how we scale to inclusion. We strive to create an accessibility spec for any new UX that we build. And that accessibility spec gets reviewed by accessibility experts and members from the community to help us make sure that we're designing something that really works great. Developers are required to run accessibility tests before they check that code in. And then before we release that code, we work with accessibility experts to review that X and do a comprehensive accessibility pass over it. Those are some of the things that we are doing to really make sure that when we ship new features, that feature resonates and works for you. So we invite members of the Microsoft disability community to be among the first to use, when we started to build Copilot internally at Microsoft, I started getting a lot of my friends from the disability community saying, hey, Clint, this could really help me. So what we did internally is we moved the disability community to the front of the line, and they had some of the first access to Copilot in Microsoft of any employees. So employees across the company are begging to get Copilot. We sent an email to everybody that's in the disability ERGs and said, hey, we want to move you to the front of the line. Because we really believe in two things. We believe that Copilot is going to have a disproportional positive impact in productivity for people who have disabilities. And the second thing that we believe strongly is that the feedback we will get from the disability community will make our products better for everybody. So that's what we talk about when you talk about shift left. It's about designing with the community. So we are excited to continue to invest in the future of AI. We want to hear from you. I want to thank everybody for your partnership, for your feedback, for your fierce advocacy. We're not done. We're just getting started, and we're proud of the journey that we've been on with you. Let's keep building a future where accessibility is the foundation. I'd love to now have a conversation with Jessica, and we can just talk a little bit more about what we're doing at Microsoft and some of the accessibility work that we're starting to build in. So Jessica is the director of our strategic partnerships. Yeah. And I have to tell you, Jessica is one of my favorite fellow coworkers at Microsoft. And I can sit here and tell you all the great things about her because you can't hear her. So she's blushing right now. But Jessica is really fantastic at helping us connect with the community. She told me that she was going to die if I asked her to tell us a story.
Okay, talk to me.
How about now? Is that better? Amazing! I am blushing. It's true. And Clint is going to grab a mic for himself because I just stole this one.
Yeah, it's all right.
Improvising, right? This
Right.
totally works for us.
All right, fantastic. So thank you all for having me. It is a pleasure to meet some of you in person for the very first time. The last time I was at ACB, y'all were in Reno. Who was in Reno? Yeah? Amazing. Well, thank you for having me back. As Clint said, I lead strategic partnerships for accessibility at Microsoft. And I've got a pretty cool job. I get to work with folks like you, customers outside of the company who are always giving us feedback. Now, Clint makes it really easy to do because I go to Clint and to his team and I say, this is what the community wants to see. People with disabilities are looking for these types of features, these types of products. Let's make it happen. And he makes that easy to do. But none of us could do our jobs without the partnership that we have with organizations like ACB. Can I say that y'all are one of my favorites? It's true. It's so true. And I really mean that. I've been at Microsoft for almost 10 years now, and ACB was one of the first organizations I met when I started a new career. I'm an attorney by trade, and I saw what Microsoft could do if we got this right. If we were able to prioritize accessibility for people with disabilities, we really could open up so much opportunity that people with disabilities had been waiting for a very long time. And ACB was one of the first organizations I met, and you kept me humble. We had just released product that was not delighting you. it wasn't making you happy, and it wasn't creating work and employment opportunities that you deserve. And Eric Bridges is one of the first folks that I met, and I'll never forget, Eric and Jeff came all the way out to Redmond. General was there too, if you know Eric's dog, General. Yeah.
Love General.
Other than Rebecca, might be my favorite member of the Bridges family. But I'll never forget, they were all so patient with my understanding of what needed to change, but also, to borrow Clint's word, fierce. That fierce advocacy. And I was able to bring the voice of ACB to our executives, to our leadership, and say, this is what the experience truly is. Does this make you proud? And they said, let's do it. Let's prioritize accessibility so that we can truly be proud of the experience that we're bringing to people with disabilities, including those who are blind.
You know, Jessica, I was in some of those conversations with our leaders, and I really did feel deep down in, Satya and Brad both were like, let's use this as a moment to hold ourselves accountable and to really be great and to really embrace this as a full partnership to help us do great work, because that's who we are. That's who we are.
And Clint is very modest, but he really was in those rooms sharing the potential and sharing the problem statement. So thank you for helping support him. But Clint, maybe we could take just a minute to explain what your role is and most importantly, what is your accountability? And how has that changed over the last, you and I have worked together for 10 years, but certainly you've been working at Microsoft for much longer than that. Should we share how long?
I've been at Microsoft 27 years. I think my biggest flex is that I still have a little bit of coloring in my hair and that I have hair. I'm like lost. Was there a question there? I'm like still thinking 27 years. You know, it's really a privilege. I feel a heavy responsibility in my job at Microsoft. I'm responsible for making sure Windows, Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Outlook, Teams. My job is to make sure that these productivity applications are compliant. But what I really, really care about is that people love using them in the disability community. So for me, it's really about building products that the disability community loves. And I feel that responsibility every day when I show up at work.
Well, at the risk of further embarrassment, let's go back into time a little bit. Because I think part of understanding the work that Clint does and his passion around it is understanding his membership to our community. And I'm a wheelchair user, so I'm part of this community too, but Clint is as well. So do you want to, when did your journey with accessibility begin?
You know, that's a great question. I think sometimes our childhood traumas help shape who we are and what we care and what we're passionate about. I can remember very clearly sitting in a classroom in first grade and a teacher getting up and describing this class that they're going to invite people in the class to that's going to be fantastic. It's going to be a small group of people. It's going to be accelerated learning. It's going to be, I think they even promised donuts every day. I don't remember exactly. And she says, everybody who wants to go to this class, raise your hand. And the entire class raises their hand. And they're like, okay, well, we'll pick some people tomorrow to be part of this special class. The next day, they called out some students. And I very quickly realized that I was in a special class.
Air quotes. There were air quotes.
I was in remedial resource class from first grade to 8th grade. I grew up at that time I was living on a pig farm, and I was really small. So I think that those experiences, I didn't feel like I really connected with my classmates. I felt isolated. And so I think, deep down in, I truly understand what it's like to feel excluded. And to not feel like I'm part of the group or the in crowd. And so I think that experience just really helped burn into me empathy for people who are having a different experience than what might be common.
No, thank you, Clint, for sharing that. I think everybody in the room understands to an extent what it is like to be excluded. But what you have done with that information and that experience is really help it define your leadership. So let's talk about how you have taken those experiences and brought them into how you lead a very important and very significant team that is making product.
Yeah. Well, probably back to our childhood memories shape what we're deeply passionate about. I can remember my family went through a lot of trauma early on in that so I'm from a Mormon family of 6 kids. My dad, I remember very clearly him coming home and saying he got laid off from his job as a diesel mechanic. That was a point where we were living paycheck to paycheck. And as a child, I remember that anxiety around how are we going to take care of 6 kids? We spent 6 months living off of, donations from the church and food from the church and things before he was able to land his next job. A little bit later, we had moved and we'd started a farm. We were mink farmers. It's hard for me to believe that I was a mink farmer, but I was a mink farmer. We had thousands of minks. We had a disease come and wipe out the farm in a matter of weeks. And our family went bankrupt. The bank took the house. We were largely homeless, but I was fortunate that my mom's grandpa, or my mom's father, helped us get into a temporary house that we could live in. And so I've always had anxiety about how am I going to provide for my family? And when I think about my work on accessibility, probably one of the things that drives me the most is really about enabling education and employment and building the tools that the disability community can lean into and really be equal participants in the digital economy and in education. I can remember probably the most memorable moment of my career after our partnership with the ACB started in 2016. We'd done a bunch of work. We'd spent 18 months really rewriting the foundation of all of our products. We were in a government conference with a bunch of people that lead accessibility work, and this person who was blind, he pulled me aside and he wanted to have a private conversation with me. And he just said, Clint, I want to thank Microsoft. We probably should have included ACB for that partnership. The work that you are talking about today, I know that if I lost my job, I could get another one. And at that moment, I didn't just see a person in front of me. I saw a father, I saw a provider, I saw a partner, and I saw somebody who wanted to live a life of dignity. And so that's the responsibility that I try to bring back to Microsoft product makers that are not as connected to the accessibility community as I am.
Thank you, Clint, for sharing that. I think the inverse is also true. Yes, you're empowering that individual and many people with disabilities to get the next job. But if we don't make accessible product, you're disempowering people to live the lives they want to. And that's heavy, and it is a big responsibility that we take really seriously. Just as important as these principles, and I hope this helps to kind of understand the way that Clint thinks about his role as a leader at Microsoft, just as important as the principles are the how. Is how are we getting this work done? Can you share a little bit about how you have partnered with ACB? And I remember all the way back to when we were working with them on these freeway scenarios where you needed the feedback, yes, of people who are blind at Microsoft who are contributing, but also you needed the diversity that ACB brings. You needed various, what we would call user profiles, different type of unique people who had these experiences and different levels of expertise. Can you reflect back on that sort of feedback that you heard?
Yeah. Is Jeff Bishop in the room? Oh.
No, he's training folks.
Oh, okay.
If he was in the room, you'd hear him by now.
So Jeff Bishop really was Jeff and Eric both were really key parts of my journey of introducing me to what accessibility means. And I could just remember, going through scenarios with Jeff and having him give us feedback and working through like, when are we getting to the point where we're ready to move forward on this? And so that was really an important part of it. But even today, Jeff's on my phone, talk to him regularly, love getting his feedback. He loves giving the feedback. You all helped us significantly with progress on the new Outlook and participating and giving us feedback. I think many members here have reached out to the Enterprise Disability Answer Desk and pass along feedback. But really, feedback is a gift.
I think there's a t-shirt design here, fierce feedback, hashtag fierce feedback might be the ACB motto. Speaking of feedback, it is a gift. But what do we do with it? You give the feedback and you want to make sure that you took the time to share that feedback. You want to understand what happens with it. Can you give a couple examples? Now, not every piece of feedback makes it into product. I will share that transparently. But can you give some examples of what has made it into product?
I can give some. How about if I do one better than that? How about if I give some examples of something that's coming out really soon?
Spicy.
That is a direct report. That is I might not be supposed to share these, but so you guys. Okay, so in December we had a call with the BITS organization. Big shout out to BITS. I'm a huge fan. They had a laundry list of feedback for me. I can remember there were probably 2 pieces of feedback that really punched me in the face on that one. One was just comments is just too hard to work with. How much tabs you have to do, getting into a comment, hearing the comment read, that just going through comments in a Word document was too laborious. So we really leaned into that one, and we have rolling out soon is a significant improvements to the commenting keyboard model. The second piece of feedback that I recall was about spell check. And just making it consistent and predictable, reducing the number of keystrokes, hearing a word spelled out letter by letter, but making that feel natural and intuitive. So our engineers and the Word team have been working hard on improving the spell check experience and making sure that narrator really works great with comments and spelling. And one of the things I would say here is like, when I go talk to leaders, they're like, Clint, AI, 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 AI. Like, let's do AI. Anything you can do to bring AI to the disability community, that's your job. Great, I love that. But if the fundamentals aren't great yet, have we got to a place we want to be? No. And so the feedback from the ACB community really allowed me to go in and talk to some people about, hey, this thing that's been static, that we haven't been investing in for years, we need to find some people that are going to go clean this up. Because that's the thing that's going to help AI shine, is when we have really good fundamentals.
And finding someone who can go clean that up with a disability is even better. And Brett Humphreys, immediately who comes to mind. We've had a lot of conversations about the importance of teams.
Yeah.
Flashback to 2020. And the improvements that has been made in teams from a blind low vision perspective. Do you want to relive that a little bit? And
well, my past trauma, now it's my Microsoft trauma. I would just say, Teams was not the product we wanted it to be when the pandemic hit. And the pandemic really fundamentally changed how people work. I'm excited about how it really made remote work a reasonable opportunity, and I know that's had a huge impact in the disability community. We didn't feel great about where we were on Teams at the start of the pandemic. We brought on a person named Brett Humphreys. Love Brett Humphreys. He's a low vision user, relies on JAWS for his daily work. Brett has fundamentally changed the culture of the Teams organization. He's helped them shift left in a deep way. He's helped improve Teams from a keyboarding perspective, how it's read out with a screen reader. Brett uses Teams every day. And what's interesting to me is when you put a person with a disability in an engineering team leading the work, their coworkers start to care a lot more about it. Because it's not some like, oh, I'm building accessibility for somebody that is not like me. It's like, I'm building it for my friend Brett. And Brett needs to be able to show up and do his job. And so Brett's had a huge impact in Teams accessibility. I hope it's meeting your guys' needs. If it's not, see me after.
If it's not, fierce feedback. We've talked a lot about the past, and I think that is very helpful to reflect on that because that shapes how we make products in the future. But I'm kind of excited to talk about the future. Like Clint said, we get a lot of requests. People with disabilities are first adopters. We're the community that says we want to try it because there's so much potential for how AI and generative AI can help us to do exactly what we want to do and live the lives we want to live. So we talked about Copilot. It's certainly changed how I get work done. As someone with muscular dystrophy, I don't think I even realized how fatigued I get. Right around that 3 p.m. time, when you need a coffee, you need a pick-me-up, that's when my arms, my hands, my shoulders need a break. And being able to use Copilot to do a lot of the work on my behalf, with me there guiding the way, has been really fundamental for how I get things done. But I want to hear, Clint, from you. What do you see? What are you most excited about? The alien landing.
Well, when it comes to Copilot, I just love how it takes the drudgery. It takes the physical effort
That's a good word.
out of what it means to create digital content. So when I think of the Copilot and AI and some of the big things that's happening, I first think about opening a document. And if it's a 20-page document, it's really hard to get a handle of what's in that document. Summary can give you a very short, quick overview of what's in there. And you can get that summary before you even open the document. I think about draft, like write me a one page about dogs. Am I ever going to keep that one page it generates about dogs? Usually I'm going to go in and start tweaking it and making it my own and adding my own stories to it. So the ability to draft and then rewrite and really shape that is an important part about removing the tediousness out of doing work. A big part of it is, I think, how do we make sure that people are creating accessible content? We know that content created by Copilot is far more accessible than content that wasn't created by AI. So we think that's helpful. Being able to look at a chart, I always dreamed of like, oh, can I give you a really good description of this chart? Well, modern generative AI models can make it super easy to get information about charts, diagrams, screenshots. And not only does it make it easy to give you an alt text version of it, you can start asking questions and inquiry to it. And so in many ways, it's almost like you're now starting to just give you a digital assistant right there with you to help overcome barriers when content isn't accessible. And I think we're just really getting started. But I think the big key for us at Microsoft is making that contextual so that as a screen reader user, it comes natural and it fits within how you work. And, from a habituating, efficiency, understandable perspective, that we've really nailed the basics there.
And there are really two parts to this strategy. We've talked a lot about how you want the end product to be accessible to users who are blind and low vision. But the people who make the content are certainly not always blind or low vision. So we're also reaching that audience of sighted users who have a responsibility to create accessible content. Talk a little bit about some of the work that you're doing to make it easier for everybody to create accessible content.
I think it's just such an important part of it because, we can build great assistive technology, but if the content people need to consume is not done in an accessible way, we just really haven't met that standard that I'm setting for employment and education. Like that introduces this inequity. So we've been investing heavily in redesigning the accessibility assistant. That we've reimagined it across Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Outlook, not Outlook, a little bit in Outlook, Visio, OneNote, and then we shipped that new accessibility experience across Windows, Mac, the web experience, and it's now coming to iOS. And in part of that accessibility experience, we're continuing to look for ways to bring AI into it so that as images get inserted, we're using generative AI to create really great alt text that's way better than what we've done in the past. I think it's the other piece that I think we've made a big investment in that we're just turning the corner on. You guys love PDFs? When I first started accessibility work, I was like, oh, I'm hearing a lot of feedback that the PDFs that get exported by Word, Excel, PowerPoint isn't great. And engineers would be like, oh, Clint, that's really hard code. We don't understand that code. That's like, please don't make us go work on that. Well, I made them go work on that. So we've really refactored our PDF export code so that the documents that are getting exported from Office using Office's exports are far more accessible and easier for people to share within the disability community. So if it's coming from Office, if the document itself, we work on making the accessibility checker to give the tools to people so they can make content accessible. We work and make sure that AI is creating accessible content. And then we're making sure that if something happens to, heaven forbid, happens to leave the Microsoft ecosystem, I would just prefer everybody stay in Word, Excel, PowerPoint, but it doesn't happen. We'd love to make sure that we're giving somebody something that's really accessible.
So to wrap things up, I do want to just make a comment about how lovely it has been to get to know Scott and Dan and Rick and the leaders that you have at ACB who are proactively trying to look around the corner, to look ahead and say, what does the future of accessible technology look like? And that has been such a rewarding conversation to have, to really understand what the needs are and what the potential is. So Clint, a year from now, maybe 5 years from now. 5 years from now, you come back to ACB. What is the vision that you paint for how things have changed?
Oh, Jessica, we did not prep me for that question. She's sneaking one in on me.
Well, I'm looking over at Dan, and he's reminding me to think big,
Yeah.
and that's
You know-
something that Scott and I have been focusing on. Is Scott will have an idea, and I'll say think bigger, and then I'll have an idea, and Scott will say think bigger. So Clint, let's think big.
I'll share an idea, and then y'all can tell me to think bigger. When I think about the products that we own, I would love for an inbox Windows screen reader that understands content in a deep, deep way, that has reduced a little bit of the burden for people to make everything accessible in the beginning, so that we give you the tools to have better consumption experience. I'd love for us to be fantastic at Braille. I think Braille's really, and when I think about my vision, Braille's a path to employment, right? And so I don't think we're where we want to be when it comes to Braille. And so I think that's something for us to go work on. I don't have any announcement of something that's going to change tomorrow. I know Clint cares a lot about it, and that's something that I'm in people's ear about. I want to do better at math. I think digital math today is a little bit clunky. And I think we can do better at improving the ability for Office to interop with digital math. I think a lot, I have these pictures in my head of kids that want to be engineers. They want to have a life, that is involved in cutting-edge technology, and really making sure that all of those capabilities for thriving in STEM are just built into the system. I don't know how we're going to do that, because AI is changing the way I think about designing products every day, but I think AI is going to be a really big part of this, and I think that feedback from the community as we train those models, as we start to ship things and we get feedback about, how we're doing, I think that's going to be a big part of it. And I hope there's a whole lot less effort of creating accessible content, because the content people create just naturally comes out accessible. Do I have a think bigger challenge here?
I don't know. What do y'all think? Bigger. Well, thank you, Clint. And more importantly, thank you, everyone here. Thank you, ACB, for helping us to think bigger, for holding us accountable, and for delivering that fierce feedback. But most of all, thank you for being our partner in this journey on accessibility, where we're learning more about ourselves, learning more about our company, and together hoping to better serve all of our customers. So thank you, ACB.
I'm super grateful. Appreciate the time being here with you. I'm going to be around for the next couple of days. I look forward to meeting you. And if you have feedback about Microsoft products, feedback is a gift. Come find me. Thank you.
Thank you guys so much.
A logo. ACB in print and braille. American Council of the Blind. Together for a bright future.